Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari here in Imola. If you're unaware about Imola, it is one of the most infamous circuits in F1 history, God rest their souls. We are here for the second round of the 11th season here in the Midwest F1 League Hotspot, MMR Hotspot now, on the call with you. Hoping that we don't get too much rain here tonight, hoping that it's going to be one simple in and out procedure realistically, and that we get ourselves a good contest here. Remember last time out in Brazil, Fuse Rogue did take the lead. The lead. Well, he did take the lead. He took the win as well, and that was a very fun race. That one. Well, we've got 18 on the grid tonight, so perhaps no shortage of any. I don't want to say carnage, but we don't know the weather yet. Could it be raining? Could it be dry? If it's dry, I think we're going to get ourselves a damn good race. They always impress here. In Imola, especially in the virtual world. Obviously, the last couple of years in real-life F1 have birthed some memorable moments. 2021, we had some good times. 2022, we had the sprint. Unfortunately, we did get robbed of the race in 2023 with Mother Nature deciding, go to hell. But here we are in Imola for the second round of the season. Let's see who's going to be out on track first. This is always one of my favorite parts to see who comes out first. We've got 32 laps of a Grand Prix coming up here. It's going to be one hell of a Grand Prix. That part's for sure. I'm almost willing to guarantee we're going to get ourselves a good one here. Again, all the tracks that, and I say this pretty much every time we visit this track as well, every time we go to a track that, I'm being tagged here, looks like we're going to get dry all the way through. Race is going to be sunny, then onto overcast for the race. So dry race, then on out, and that's, kind of what I wanted to see. First out on track is going to be the Williams of Fuse Rogue, last week's winner, and he's coming out on track once again, hoping to do more of the same as he did last week. I tell you what, this guy's been managing to put together some hell of a performances, plural, here in Division 3. He had a really good last season as well. Took home a couple of wins there, and now here he is. He's off to a great start, hoping to be promoted up into Division 2 next season, or, if they deem him too quick for this division, he gets moved up, which I tell you what, could very well happen. But for the time being, he is here, and he's looking to do more the same he did last week. Let's take a look at our point standings. Here in Division 3, Fuse Rogue obviously leads, having won. Jaw second with 22. How in the hell do I pronounce that? Ayahuasca. Well, he's not here, but he's third with 22. He's actually tied with Jaw for second. Tanel is fourth. Tin Man's in Div 4. Los Manigos P5 at 18. Call me maybe 16. Fireball in 8th at 15. Peter at 14. Valentine 13. 12 is Anto. 11th is D-Block, although he's been moved up here to tonight, and the rest of the grid has not managed to put points on the board. Let's go along with Fuse Rogue here as he starts his lap here in Imola on his way into the Tamburello chicane. I think he's done quite well there. You do have to be slightly careful. The oversteer is possible, especially with these more flattened curves in towards now the Villeneuve chicane. I think he's taken a little bit too much of the inside. Into Toza he goes. This is a fun corner. You can kind of get sometimes two different lines going through it. Makes for a decent overtaking spot. He's done well then. In towards Piratella now. Downhill left-hander. It does get quite narrow there. That exit of the corner does start to creep up on you onto Aqua Minerale, which translates to mineral water, as I'm sure you could have guessed. Up the hill, doing pretty well so far into the Alta chicane here, or well, I guess this map says Grazzini. I don't remember it ever being called that. I've never heard that word before. But then down the hill in towards the Rivazza corners. Well, this must be the what do you call it? Yeah. Well, he's come out of Rivazza there, and he's actually gotten a little squirrely on the throttle. He's not done all that bad. 115.685. He will be doing better than that, you ought to believe. I'm sure here in a minute he will get towards a better lap than that. But Fuse Rogue atop so far. Next up is the Haas. Jean Carlos, who is starting one. Behind him, the Alpine. Texas Tornado, 115.524. There's good enough for the fastest lap. Only a tenth and a half, though, back to Fuse Rogue. So even the mistake that he did make does seem as if that lap is, slightly vulnerable, has to be said. Tinelli goes provisional pole, 1:15.259, it's 2:95 rather, 2.5 tenths back to Texas Tornado. That's a tongue twister, that one. Behind him, the Red Bull of Gab is starting his. And behind him, next up, the Haas of John Carlos, who's gone P4. I'm assuming that's not going to be the competitive attempt from him. D-Block behind him. He's going to be coming to the line now. Good enough for P4, 1:17.329. Behind him, the Alfa Romeo of Peter, slightly off pace. Looks like next up, the Ferrari of Arhadi, who has invalidated his previous attempt, so that one's all for naught, has to be said. Coming up next behind him is the McLaren of Jaw, who is only good enough for P8 at the moment, 7 and a bit off the pace. We're just going to go ahead and assume that that is not the lap he's going to be looking out for, and, well, Arhadi's gone into the grass then. Who do we have next coming up here? Freeman, perhaps. Well, he's making his way down towards the Alta chicane now, or Grassini, as it says on this map, although, I've never seen it called that before, but either way. Down the hill, then, in towards the Ravazza corners. These are very tricky, especially in the wet conditions. Here in the dry, you will see cars go off if they get the braking zone wrong, but at least you got a little bit of ability to recover. When you go, that corner downhill braking zone into the left-hander in the wet, they could very well put snow down in that corner. That's how slippery that braking zone is. And it is tricky in the dry as well. So look out for that to be potentially an area where error does happen. Mr. Hardy has invalidated another timed lap attempt then. His teammate of Fireball is going to be starting one now. Behind him, it looks like the AlphaTauri of D-Block's on his way in, as well as the Alfa Romeo of Peter DRH. And then behind them looks like the Alpine of, well, one of them. Behind him, the Ferrari, and yeah, it looks like everybody's going to be coming back into the pits here. Fireball is one of the only drivers on track on a timed lap at the moment, who is not coming into the pits. Is he on a timed lap right now? Well, his recharge light's on. His battery isn't necessarily going down, it's only going up. Maybe is this kind of the cooldown lap for him, or maybe the in lap. He still has yet to put in a time. Maybe, I would assume he's invalidated his previous attempt, which would explain it. But if at that point, it's like, why are you saving up that much battery? It serves you no purpose. So we'll see if Fireball is able to put one together here. That's going to be my question. Fuse Rogue on an outlap once more. Looks like it's just been a splash and go for him. Slightly refuel the car, put the new tires on, and out you go. Interestingly enough, Mandigos, is he on a flyer at the moment? It does kind of look as if he is. He's 7/100ths faster through Sector 1, I believe that said. Through Sector 2, when he gets to the line now, he's taking a little bit of the inside of Aqua Minerale. He may lose some time there. At the line he goes towards the Alta chicane, faster by 2 tenths through Sector 2. That'll put him, well, it actually won't improve him much, if I'm to be mistaken. It's going to keep him that P4, and it's going to really solidify him there on the second row. Still a lot of time left, over 10.5 minutes, but still, he put down a good lap now. That's going to get the respect, and I would almost say fear, of your drivers out and around you, because you put down a good attempt, and everybody's going to be gunning for it. That brings people into mistakes. That does happen. Well, he does go third, 1:15.551, improves by half a second. He does leapfrog Fuse Rogue, and at the moment only finds himself behind that of Texas Tornado by less than 3/100ths of a second. So, Mandigos, I would think, a comfortable favorite for the front row. Well, not for the front row, maybe the top 2 rows. Front row, he still has a little bit of work to do. However, I tell you what, I think he does have the potential for it, so we'll have to wait and see if he's able to deliver on that. Alfa Romeo coming out next. It's going to be that of Alvarado, making his way through Ravazza, and to the line he goes. He's not really able to put much down. He goes 7.5 seconds slower. Next up, that is Fuse Rogue, who is starting a time lap. Let's go along with him. Makes his way through, I would say the pit straight here, through turn 1 is what it actually is, in towards the Tamburello chicane now. Exits nicely. I tell you what, clean as you like through there. Not really going to get much steadier than that. Villeneuve chicane does well. Takes the exit so nicely. Only 8/100ths faster, though, so far. But I will say, it does look a much cleaner lap. I will expect him to be improving even more. 9.5 minutes to go. And at the moment, Fuse Rogue on a good one as he makes his way through Piratella and down the hill towards Aqua Minerale. Does he do good here? Let's see. Maybe, yeah, I tell you what, I think he's taken a little bit too much of the sausage curb on the inside, and that's forced him to back off to not invalidate the lap, and there you go. He's slower now by 3.5 tenths. So this lap has gone pretty much out the window, I'd say, for Fuse Rogue. Someone who I thought was off to a really good start of the lap, and then, again, it is Aqua Minerale catching him out by surprise. Well, the last time it was the exit of Rivatsa here, but yeah, not ideal for him. He'll be coming back in here, and I tell you what, Fuse Rogue's going to have to wait again to put down a good time lap. Next up behind him is a Ferrari. I believe it's going to be it's Arhadi starting a timed lap. In front of him, the Alfa Romeo of Alvarado taking it slow. Arhadi's going to go past here, in towards the Tamburello chicane. Behind him, I believe, is that the Alpine of Texas Tornado. Well, it is. Texas Tornado, at the moment, has just completed a lap, I think. I don't believe this is his timed attempt. I think he's going to be coming into the end of this lap. Moves himself within a tenth of Tennell. 9/100ths of a second. That is about as close a gap as you can have without actually taking pole. That is a very good effort then from Texas Tornado. And he still has time to find where he's lost the time then. And hopefully has room to improve. But Tennell has done well. And is he coming to the line here? Yes, he is. He's going to be coming to the line here on a timed attempt. What does he have? First driver to get into the 114. It's a 114.867. And by the way, 9/100ths of a second faster than Texas Tornado before he put the lap in. Now over half a second. What a lap from Tennell. On the outlap now is Los Manigos. Behind him, well, in front of him, actually, is his teammate of Jaw, who has invalidated. The driver that was looking like he was on a better lap has invalidated, perhaps as he recharged enough to get another one going here. That's what I'm going to assume. And ahead of him, he does have the Ferrari of Arhadi, giving him, well, I don't think he's close enough for a tow necessarily, but he's definitely there. As Soy Loco, I tell you what, Soy Loco on an outlap now, slightly under the radar, has to be said. Slightly odd territory for Soy Loco to be. 3 seconds off the pace so far. You never know. Again, Soy Loco, one of those drivers, likes to take a couple of reconnaissance practice laps out on track in the early stages of the qualifying session. He could have done just that, been on, maybe just trying to, get to grips with the car, not necessarily push as much as he can. That could explain the 3 second gap to pole. I would absolutely bet that he's going to be in the top 10 here once he's done with his time lap. Top 5 I don't think would be out of the question either. It's just going to be a matter of let's wait and see. Next up, one of the Aston Martins, Valentine's going to be starting a time lap here. The McLaren of Jaw making his way out of the Alta chicane down towards Rivatsa. We get a yellow flag in Sector 2. That's for the Ferrari of, I want to say, Fireball, who's letting drivers out of the way. Jaw's going to need to put one together here. He's on low fuel. This is going to be his chance to do it. Out of the final corner. Looks an okay lap. Wow, okay, my ass. Second place, 115 flat. Moves within a quarter of a second of Tennell, and I tell you what, that was a damn good lap from Jaw. Where did he get that from? That was, I tell you what, you see him on 24% battery. You didn't really expect him to be getting that close to pole. Well, he's done just that. Brilliant attempt from him. 5.5 minutes to go here. Still waiting for Soy Loco to put something together here, and I believe something has happened with him. He's going slowly as he makes his way into the Villeneuve chicane. He had a yellow flag exiting Tamburello momentarily, perhaps as he just kind of slid off track and decides to back out of it and try again next time round. That's very much what he could be doing. Valentine through the Tamburello chicane now. He's held the exit quite nicely. At the moment, looks pretty good. Maybe a slight hesitation into Villeneuve, but he's held it rather cleanly. That's going to be important there. Holding the car cleanly and being comfortable with the laps you do get are going to be very important. Manigos, meanwhile, actually jumps his teammate, moves almost within a tenth and a half of Tennell. Currently, McLaren second and third. Great result from them for the time being. Through Piratella, down the hill, in towards Aqua Minerale. Does Valentine hold on to what appears to be a pretty solid lap so far? I think he could have taken the apex better, but he's held some okay speed. We'll have to wait and see. Well, he's actually second and a half faster through Sector 2. So, yeah, I would say comfortably top 10 here is what he's going to be looking at. He just has to nail Rivatsa, and I tell you what, he may have a go for the top 5. We'll have to wait and see. He's got the McLaren who was outside there. Hopefully that didn't impede him. Down the hill into Rivatsa 1 and 2. McLaren of, well, I believe it's Jaw behind him, but so the line's going to go Valentine here. Not a bad-looking lap. P6, 116.189. Improves by a 1.7. Moves to P6, about half a second off a Fuse Rogue. So not bad from Valentine there. I feel like that's a pretty respectable lap. He's got 4 minutes to go here. He can get the car back in, quickly out on track. He won't have any time for dilly-dallying on his out lap. He'll just need to give it the beans and get going again, and maybe he can get onto the second row. Do have Jaw entering the pits now, as well as his teammate Amanigos, and here we are going to see the flood of drivers coming into the pits. Looks like D-Block has just finished a timed lap here, unless... I tell you what did I say? A tenth and a half better through Sector 1, and he's got 10% battery? That seems slightly, well, odd. Making his way in towards Aqua Minerale now. And he has invalidated. Where has he done that? He must have... Well, he wouldn't have done it on the way in, would he have? Maybe did he do it exiting Piratella? Alvarado on an out lap. I think if you're on the track right now, it's going to be a really good time. You know, you got 3 minutes left. But if you're one of those drivers in the top 5 at the moment, having a potential for pole, and there goes Fuse Rogue, he's going to be the first out of those drivers to actually come out. But I'm thinking right now that having the ability of having clean track ahead of you is going to be so important. Because, you know, there's not really much place to escape here. You got to hope that there's no traffic ahead of you. And Fuse Rogue, you know, doing... I would assume the better decision there, as Valentine, I don't think, had a good lap attempt that time. Either that or he was on a cooldown lap. Could be. But Fuse Rogue here, if he wants pole, this would have been the time to go do it. He's hopefully going to have clear track ahead of him. And I'm afraid for Texas Tornado, Jaw, Manigos, and Tenel, that may not be the case. So they're going to have to watch out. This is a very narrow track, very old-school circuit. Not a lot of runoff that isn't, well, pure grass or gravel. There's no, you know... tarmac runoff area. You got a little bit here on the outside of the corners. We see the Ferrari of Arhadi have a little bit of a spin there, but you know, either way, you can't really, you got to really be off the racing line. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, somewhere later in the week we see a steward report come up that you know, somebody was impeding a hot lap. That very well could be the case. Fuse Rogue we're going to go along with here. He had a very good attempt last time round, and then, you know, kind of botched the corner coming out of was it Aqua Minerale? Yeah, where he just really lost time. Let's hope and see if he's able to do it here. Here it is. Car on the outside. Yeah, and he's going to have to take very evasive maneuver there. Ahead of him was the AlphaTauri of JC, who came out of the pit lane. In fairness to JC, I mean, he was exiting the pit lane in an okay manner. I just think Fuse Rogue wanted the outside to have the braking zone, and even when I thought Fuse Rogue was going to have clean track, he just didn't. It's tough to tell. Do we get another car leaving the pit lane here? I'll kind of explain to you what JC was going through there, because as we go along with Gab with about 1:10 to go. So let's go on board with him. Now, JC, I mean, by the time we saw Fuse kind of panic there, he was kind of getting to about, you know, the 200-meter marker there, 150. So that is where the pit exit ends. That's the big thing. Do we go along with Call Me Maybe and see? That's where the line ends, right there. And JC was following that. You know, I think that's really annoying for Fuse Rogue. I don't think JC's done anything wrong. He's done correctly. He has stayed within the white lines, exiting the pit lane. That is really unfortunate for Fuse Rogue, but in fairness to JC, I don't really think he's done anything wrong with that. I'll leave a bit of a gap here. I'll throw in the replay now. As Fuse Rogue begins his next time lap. Let's see here. Now for the real this time, in towards the Tamburello chicane behind him. Also, Tenel, Mandigos, and Jaw hoping to put together some good ones here. The Aston Martin of Valentine on his way in. It looks like Texas Tornado is starting one now. So Fuse Rogue is going to be the first driver out of this group to come across the line. Actually, that's not even true. It is going to be Tenel. As the time expires, Valentine manages 6th, Gab 8th, Freeman 9th, and Fireball 10th. So the line is the Alfa Romeo, one of them. It's either Peter or Alvarado, but Peter's gone P15. Next up, the Red Bull. It is Gab, who's already finished. It's not going to matter much for him. Behind him, the Haas of Call Me Maybe to the line he goes. Looking at a pretty solid lap from him, P6. And behind him, the McLaren of Jaw, 1:14.636. And Tenel is off track. Well, I'm not sure what's happened with Tenel, but whatever time lap attempt he was on, it's gone. He is currently in the grass outside on the backstretch there before the Alta chicane. And that's going to be the end of it. That's the end of his qualifying session. And look at the toe that Fuse Rogue is getting here from the Haas of John Carlos to the line only 4th. That kind of surprises me there. Manny goes to the line now. What does he have? Only gets P3. Not a bad attempt, but at the moment, Tenel's going to keep his second starting spot unless does one of the AlphaTauris have anything, or the Alpine of Texas Tornado, who is off track and going very slowly here. So it will be the McLaren of Jaw taking pole position, 1:14.636. Behind him is Tenel by 2.5 tenths, actually right close then amongst the top 5. I tell you what, Jaw kind of had it at the death. Tenel had a really good qualifying session. I'm assuming he's going to be one hell of a driver to face off the line. So your starting grid then for the Imola Grand Prix. Jaw and the McLaren team with a very good qualifying result. Jaw taking first, Tenel behind by 2.5 tenths. Jaw's teammate Amanda goes third. Fuse Rogue, slightly, I would almost say disappointing for him. Capable of more in the race for sure. He goes fourth. Texas Tornado fifth. Call me maybe sixth. Valentine is 7th, Gab 8th, Freeman 9th, Alvarado 10th, Fireball 11th, 12th is D-Block, 13th, Dead Text Message, Soy Loco only manages 14th on the mediums, 15th Peter, 16th John Carlos, R. Hottie is the last driver with a timed attempt, and JC unfortunately did not get a timed lap in. I tell you what, it's going to be a close one amongst the top 5, and I bet you there's going to be some fair moving about in the rest of the field. It's going to be one hell of a Grand Prix. Let's see where it goes. So formation lap about to be underway here in the Midwest F1 League. Round 2 of the season. Jaw's going to be on his way out first. I'd like to remind you once again, Midwest F1 brought to you by Raise Energy and Epos Audio. Looks like the majority of the grid has gone for the mediums. Hard's only a couple drivers. Tenel, this is interesting. Tenel starting on the hards on the front row. He's got Manigos and Fuse Rogue behind him. Texas Tornado also choosing that off strategy. But I tell you what, that's going to be a tough one, Tenel. Best of luck to you, but you're going to have yourself one hell of a battle off the grid. Also than that, it must be Freeman and Fireball also taking the hard tires. But I tell you what, Jaw kind of stole one at the death here. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts together a good result. He's going to be flying high after his qualifying session there. Just a quick reminder of the upcoming races here in Midwest. Tonight, obviously, being Imola. Next week, we head to Las Vegas for the inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix here in the Midwest F1 League. The week after that, it is the American Thanksgiving week, so no race then. Abu Dhabi after that, November 30th. And after that, we do head to Circuit Spa once again, December 7th. So, interesting. Whoa, look at how far Jaws led the field here. He's not wasting any time to get to the grid. He is all the way around. He's about to form up to the grid right here. He must have forgot it was the formation lap or something, but here he goes. Up to his grid box. Look how angled across he is. I've never seen... Well, I tell you what, it was a fair effort from him. Unfortunately, the car's been disqualified, but I was about to say, that inside line does have a distinct advantage here in Imola, being it's how... Well, you can obviously see you're going straight into the grass right there, so naturally you want to be on the inside of the corner going into Tamburello. This is definitely a grid spot to, want to have. I'm sure Tenel is going to angle himself kind of in that same sort of manner right across the side as well. Let's see what he decides to do. Is he going to point himself towards Jaw, or is he going to point himself more towards the inside and get yourself a straight shot? And it looks as if he's going to angle himself just slightly to the inside. Not very much, not very aggressively. Oh, the Ferrari there of Fireball, I think, was about to have a go off track. Tell you what, not some very good camera angles here, I'll be right honest with you, but it'll do. Round 2 of the season. About to be underway here. I tell you what, we're in for a good one here in Imola as the lights are about to turn on. Here we have 2, 3, 4, and eventually 5. And for the second time in the 11th season, they are off. And I'm hoping and I'm thinking Tenel got himself a better start on the inside. Despite being on the hard tires, it looks pretty even. Yes, he is, side by side with the car ahead, that being Jaw. Into Tamburello they go. And Jaw does eventually get himself ahead. The Williams of Fuse Rogue. Actually, and we got ourselves a huge conundrum in the back. That is the AlphaTauri, one of them, or actually 2 of them, having gone off there. That is the Red Bull of Gab, who's gone to the outside of the circuit there. trying to, get to safe ground despite being in the gravel. For now, it does appear Tunnell has retaken back the lead. He's gotten around Jaw. I'm assuming perhaps going through the Villeneuve chicane, but he does lead as they make their way into Piratella and then eventually back down the hill in towards Aqua Minerale. Jaw still in good position here. He's on the faster tires as well. Once DRS comes into play in a couple of laps times, I'm sure he's going to be right back there. The McLaren of Mandigos has had himself a good start as well. He's held position. Fuse Rogue, I think, was really trying to pressure the McLaren. He's made a bit of a mistake there going through Alta, but for the time being, he's done well enough to hold position. It looks like everybody in the top 5 minus Tunnell has held their spot on the opening lap. Everybody else behind has moved some form or another. The Haas of Call Me Maybe, something's happened with him. Gab is down 9, Alvarado down 8, Freeman down 4, and it looks like there goes Jean Carlos into the pit lane. There is going to be, well, I tell you what, pit lane is wrong. As a matter of fact, it looks like he's just had a bit of a spin, perhaps as Tunnell and Jaw side by side through the Tamburello chicane, and they're going to be side by side again going into Villeneuve. Look at Mandigos on the outside. He wanted to go balls to the wall and try around the outside, the both of them, on the way into Villeneuve. And he's going to go down the inside, and Toza, that's a lot of contact. The car's gone round, goes right into his teammate of Valentine. Soy Loco's going to go round the outside and pick up 2 spots in the process. Fuse Rogue apparently is going to get a severe collision for that, albeit it wasn't his fault. Jaw was down to the inside, or sorry, Manigos was down to the inside, tried to give him the business on the way into Toza, had spun round the car of Tunnell, and unfortunately for Tunnell and Fuse Rogue and Valentine, none of them have had anywhere to go, and they've all piled into each other, and the virtual safety car is out on track. And Valentine, well, it has to be said, I fear has gotten the worst of this. He's missing the end plate on the left front side. Tunnell doesn't really look as if he's missing that much. His teammate, well, I would probably assume he's got side pod damage as well. I'm just wondering, as Fuse Rogue, yeah, Fuse Rogue, that's massive there. He's lost his front wing. Well, what an incredibly odd turn of events there, and you have to believe that the 2 McLaren drivers were going to try to do that one aggressively. They've not done anything on purpose. Mandigos thought he had to go to the inside, but I tell you what, I'm just not quite sure the gap was there. And I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if there's a penalty coming his way afterwards. Virtual safety car still out, but then there we go, back to green flag. And we've had several pit stops already. I believe that puts us at least 5 drivers. Hey, only 2? That doesn't seem right. Well, I guess I'm allowed to be wrong, but only 2 drivers having stopped so far. After that first lap there, going into the Tamburello chicane, I really could have swore we had a lot of cars pile into each other. I guess not. Maybe it was only a couple. But it looks like the Ferrari of Hadi's gone around, and he's back into the grass going out of the Villeneuve chicane. Doesn't look as if he's hit anything. Oh, but it looks like Alvarado's done the same, hasn't he? Yes, he has. He spun it out going through Toza. Unfortunate for him, but we keep going. Green flag still. Jaw has the lead. Mandy goes second. Texas Tornado, after all is said and done, has been promoted to 3rd. Soy Loco up to 4th. Remember, he had an abysmal qualifying session, up 10 spots already, staying out of trouble. That's all he needed to do. His fireball goes round the outside, a dead text message into Rivazza. That was a great move. Looks like the 2 McLarens trading off fastest laps here. Into the pits comes Valentine. I'm afraid we were getting... Yeah, that was probably going to be happening anytime soon there. He wanted to stay out and see if he could do it. Texas Tornado all over the back of Mandy goes here through Tamburello. I tell you what, only 1 DRS zone on that track, but the DRS stretch is so long in towards that Tamburello chicane, and it's a risky place to try to make a move. It's going to be one hell of an adventure to see these drivers try to make things happen into that corner. At the moment, Texas Tornado, I thought, had a great effort into it. Didn't really make anything happen, unfortunately, but it was probably for the better. If he tried to be any more aggressive, there would have been contact. But for the time being, he remains 3rd. Behind him, looks like dead text message, trying to find a move past Fireball here. Mind you, Fireball has done well to stay out of trouble, but he's also 4.5 seconds, almost 5 seconds behind Soy Loco for the 4th spot. And he's really holding up dead text message now as he's desperately trying to find a way around. That was a big snap of oversteer. Behind him, the AlphaTauri had one as well. But at the moment, still, dead text message can't find anything to get himself into the top 5. Texas Tornado, you can see, has used a lot of his energy store, down to 20% already. Mandigo's 65, 70, and counting for Jaw. So it looks like the McLaren's really playing, doing enough to save up their energy and use it defensively here, whereas Texas Tornado is just going to have to hope and pray that he's able to hold on to DRS and stay and able to recharge that battery. Is now dead text message. Is going to try to find, I would assume, probably the outside. Well, that was odd then. Well, he gets through. Am I lagging out? Yes, I am. Or am I? No, Peter's left the session. Oh no, Peter's left the session. And that kind of tells me that's what happened there, because you could see Freeman and Fireball were phasing through each other like a couple of teenagers. But, well, that quote probably wasn't the best. But either way, not ideal. Call Me Maybe, I think, has gone off there. Has he? One of the Haas drivers had. No, it's John Carlos. He's off exiting Villeneuve, yeah. Well, as they make their way down the hill into Rivazza, still Texas Tornado at the moment, and he will have DRS the next time by. You can see, though, he's not really saving up that battery. He's not doing enough. There's a lot of heavy braking zones on this track. Toza being one of them, the Alta Chicane. I would argue, Tamburello, you could get some. Rivazza down the hill, I would also consider that kind of heavy. You're going down to third gear. Texas Tornado, despite needing to save his battery, is still using it. That's kind of alarming. That tells me he's slightly desperate to try to hang on to this pair of McLarens. Meanwhile, JC has been promoted up to P6 somehow, up 12 spots since the beginning. Call Me Maybe's going to obviously get around Fireball as Fireball heads into the pits. But either way, been a very action-packed Grand Prix so far, and we're only 6 laps in. Oh, JC's gone around. He's gone around in front of Freeman. There goes the front wing. JC's got a 5-second penalty. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to stop the recording so I can try to... Oh! Massive off! 2 cars out of the race then. Safety car on track. Peter and JC. Boy, Well, JC lost the car, and I'm afraid lost it kind of on track as well, and the safety car is going to find its way out. Ay, ay, ay. Well, pit stop's on the way. Why is Jaw going to the softs? That's odd. Mandigos, I don't think, was ready to get in front of the safety car. No. Oh, Texas Tornado, 5-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flag. I think that's because he's gone ahead of the safety car. What has happened here with these two? Several cars on their way into the pits. I'm going to exit this and try to allow Peter to rejoin the session. We'll figure this out just in a moment. So as we are trying to form up the safety car here, it looks as if, at the moment, Mandigos has taken the top spot. Now, these two kind of had a bit of a conundrum there. They were... Well, Jaw's picked up... Why has Jaw picked up 5 seconds of penalty? That's slightly odd to me. I'm not rightly sure why that's taking place. Maybe as he sped in the pit lane, I'm not quite sure. But, now Jaw's put on the softs, which is odd. Texas Tornado and Mandigos simultaneously, I think, went ahead of the safety car. Somehow they didn't get disqualified, but, what they did do, as the Aston Martin, one of them at least for some reason on the outside. Still a lap down, yeah, he is. Apparently finds himself P16. And in comes Mandigos and Texas Tornado. Yeah, see, that's why they were confused there, because the safety car had come out, and they were past the pit lane, and so typically sometimes you get the ability to go around the safety car, and that's not what's ended up happening. The game has told them to stay behind the safety car, and that's what... Oh, what is dead text message doing here? I have no idea. He's well ahead of the safety car now, and he's been disqualified. Are we about to be having a restart? Is that why everybody's going dumb? Well, dead text message has been disqualified, after all is that. What in the... I don't even know. So, well, that will leave Jaw to be in the lead somehow. What in the hell is going on here? Everybody in the Discord seems just as confused as I am. What I was alluding to earlier, which is finally, as Texas Tornado, 3 seconds for multiple warnings, but what I was trying to allude to earlier, which has finally been, confirmed to me, that the contact between Fireball and Dead Text Message, it was the lag then that got through him. Safety car still on track. Let's recap. We've had the incident between JC and the Ghost of Peter to cause the safety car. JC had lost the car, and I can't remember off the top of my head if he was trying to rejoin or he was just in the middle of the track, and the AI of Peter ran into the side of him. So that was that. Dead Text Message is off track as well, but not for the reason you'd expect. He has not crashed. He has been disqualified. That time for apparently ignoring yellow flags. How you get disqualified for that, I'm not even sure, but that's the case. So Jaw has taken the top spot here. Gab is in second. Soy Loco, third. Call Me Maybe fourth. Sean Carlos fifth. It's a Haas party in the top 5 is what it is. Although I will say Jean Carlos has not stopped yet. Still, I have no idea what's going on here, to be right honest with you. Why is Gab losing positions? Has he pit? Has Gab lost the car in the safety car? He has! Well, Gab has spun the car under safety car, the famous George Russell routine, except instead of at Aqua Minerale, he's done it in Toza. Thankfully, he's not hit anything, but that was only slightly odd. So if we look at the spread of tires now, I'd tell you what. This is about as colorful as a Christmas tree at the moment. We've got several drivers now on the hard tires, several on the mediums, and the lone driver at the top on the softs. With the 5-second penalty, which I'm sure... I don't know really why that exists, but it does. So, could be wrong. Jaw is, however, going to be leading the field to the restart here. We do have 15 drivers remaining here, about a third of the way through the Grand Prix. And so far, interesting has been the best word I could use to describe it. Remember, Fuse Rogue has well, he picked up 3 second. He had a 5 earlier for running into the spinning car. Oh, was it Valentine? No, it was the Aston Martin of Tennell that had gone around, and he ran into him, I'm afraid, accidentally. And so, green flag back in the air here. Jaw's going to lead the field back to green. Let's see if these two Haas drivers can get one of themselves on podium here, as we're about the, as I said, third of the way through the Grand Prix. Fuse Rogue trying his best, trying down to the inside. Was definitely going to try to have a look, not there. Freeman and Texas Tornado had a bit of a go. And Soy Loco, just as we were talking about him staying out of trouble, finds himself taking a beach day outside of the Tamburello chicane and dropping down the order. Oh, he's going to be side-by-side with a Ferrari, a fireball into Villeneuve. I don't know how that didn't end poorly, as Los Mandigos has fallen off somehow. We're missing everything here. Jean Carlos falls down the order to P6. He's side-by-side with Texas Tornado on the way into Piratella. Mandigos, something has gone awry with him. He was 1 and 2 with his teammate, or thereabouts. Oh, and around goes the Aston Martin of Valentine. Oh, into the wall, and he is out. Safety car on track. Oh, and a massive, massive confusion in front, as Freeman picks up 5 seconds for the penalty. A collision with Jean Carlos, I'm assuming after the safety car had already come out. Well, unfortunately, the day goes from bad to worse for the Aston Martin team, as Valentine, from the initial looks, has lost the car all on his own. And Tennell, naturally, before we saw him get into the mix there with Mandigos in towards Toza on the second lap of the Grand Prix. So Jaw on his way, and he's going to serve his 5-second penalty. Onto the hards he goes. This actually, I tell you what, not a bad idea there from Jaw. What he's done here, he's put on the softs, knowing he's going to have to serve the penalty. He's made his tire stop to the other. It looks like we're going to have a double stack for the Ferraris here. This is only going to end well, and the Mercedes are coming in front of him. That's why it's taken so long. And Mr. Hotty's serving his 5-second as well. That promotes the Haas of Comey maybe to the lead of the Grand Prix. Fuse Rogue into second. How Fuse Rogue is about to be in position again to here in the top spot. I don't know how he's gotten back to this. He's, started up towards the front, had a bit of an incident, fell towards the back, now up to the front again. How has he done this? So, safety car out here again. Jean Carlos has picked up 3 seconds under safety car. I'm not really sure how he's done that, but keep an eye on, what's his name here? Keep an eye on Jaw, because what he's done... Oh, we've got the Williams of Fuse Rogue. Fuse Rogue has spun it from second place under safety car. What in the hell? How? Has he just lit up the tires going through Alta? How? Oh my god, this race is going from bad to worse quickly. Well, that promotes Manigos back up to second. Oh my god, I don't understand. Well, I was... Before I realized that we were having the Skyfall there, Jaw, I would keep an eye on him. Remember, he started on the mediums, came into the pits, put on the softs. What was that actually? Yeah, he did. He started on the mediums. That's right, because he was atop as Soy Loco picks up 5 seconds speeding in the pit lane. That's right, because Tanella was the one that started on the hards. Starting in second place, and it was Jaw who had the pole position, started on the mediums. He's pit for the softs, served a 5-second penalty under this previous stop, in which he's put on the hards. He's going to be set when it comes time for this Grand Prix here, as Freeman's going to... I'm not rightly sure what's going on here, to be right honest with you, but they do need to catch back up to the safety car queue, I would assume, and hope we're going to get back to green here rather shortly, as Fireball is the last driver here in the queue. If you're just joining us, we've had Valentine lose the car going through Aqua Minerale right about here. Or maybe down a little bit further. Yeah, he's lost the car about on his way into entry, and he's unfortunately met the inside of the barrier, and, well, the car only has 3 wheels, and that is an unfortunate result for Valentine, who I tell you what was having a pretty solid showing last time out in Brazil. Kind of went through a couple of patches of bad luck. That's, things he couldn't really control. I'm afraid this one was all on his own, and that is the end of the race for him. Remember, Peter DRH and JC ran into each other. Well, JC had lost the car coming out of the Villeneuve chicane, and the Alfa Romeo AI of Peter had crashed into him. Dead text message was, like, overtaking the safety car. I still don't know how he got disqualified, but the game has disqualified him for ignoring the yellow flags. We've just had Fuse Rogue spin under safety car. As a matter of fact, Gab did that as well. Had spun out of position under safety car, that being at Toza. And why is Fireball going around John Carlos here? What in the hell? What the hell was any of that? Why? Why is Fireball what's even the word I'm looking for? Why has he done that? He has intentionally gone into Jean Carlos under safety car. I don't know what the deal is with that. Perhaps their temper's flaring here. Which, I tell you what, it's been a frustrating Grand Prix so far. Well, Call Me Maybe's going to lead this grid back to green if we can, you know, even make it there. I'm assuming the safety car is going to be in this time. Let's remember, majority on the grid now on the hards. We've got all but 3 on the hard tires, as a matter of fact. Tennell, Freeman, and Texas Tornado on the mediums. Texas Tornado, I believe... I think at this point, everybody has pit at least once. Yes, that is the case. 4 stops for Tennell. How's he done that? Anyways, finds himself P10 at the moment. Remember, got into it with Mandigos on one of the opening laps. And, well, Mandigos here. He's got an unusual suspect to Call Me Maybe ahead of him. Call Me Maybe's done well. He stayed out of trouble. He's got himself onto the top spot, and he's going to lead a lap of the Grand Prix here. As Mandigos wants to get a good jump here, but Call Me Maybe's going to have to do some thinking, and there he goes. But Mandigos has gotten away quite well as Alvarado on his way into the pits. That's why he's falling down the order, and we're back to green. Oh, something's happened towards the back. Arhadi and I believe Gab have collided, and Gab's gone round, and he's losing front wing. John Carlos De Leo falling down the order now. I'm not rightly sure what's happened with him, but we have absolutely had a collision there as we have another one off towards the back. Soy Loco, we got a 3-car incident. It's Soy Loco, Freeman, and I believe Hadi as well leaving the scene of the crime. But what we do know is Freeman and Soy Loco have gone off track. Freeman, is he losing any bit of his front wing? As we do now have another yellow flag at the top. It's the AlphaTauri of D-Block, who I believe has spun down the order. Yes, he has. Oh, and the Ferrari of Hadi has collided with him. Oh, not in front of Freeman too. Oh my God. Jesus. Wouldn't be surprised if Freeman picks up a puncture after that. He's driven straight over the front wing debris that's been left behind after that incident. And wouldn't you know it, we're not even halfway through the Grand Prix yet. Every steward penalty in the book is going to be coming out to play here today. As we're along with Texas Tornado now, he's got 0.5 of a second back to Mandigos. Mind you, he does have 3 seconds of penalty here for exceeding track limits ahead of him. Mandigos is going to try to get around Call Me Maybe for the lead of the Grand Prix. Here he goes. He's got battery. He's got the outside. And Texas Tornado has got the better camera angle. Maybe some contact there. Not really. But I tell you what, some good racing. Texas Tornado down to the inside. He wants to make it 3 wide into Villeneuve, and he backs out of it. I'm probably smart in the end. Woo, man, I tell you what, that one was going to get hairy really quick. As Call Me Maybe down to the inside, Mandigos around the outside, has taken the top spot, but for how long does he hold on to it? Texas Tornado, rather fresh medium tires. This one's going to get interesting for the lead of the Grand Prix here rather shortly, as Mandigos has it. Call Me Maybe second. We'll have to defend from Texas Tornado behind. And look, if you will, the McLaren of Jaw trying to get himself back into the picture as well, as Mr. Hadi pitting, as himself and Gab had that incident earlier on. As I tell you what, the grid is properly fanned out now, but we still have a solid battle here for the top 5. As now, would you look who it is? Mr. Four-Stopper himself, Tennell, is back in the picture for the top 5. 0.2 of a second here and closing. Looks like Mandigos is actually putting some solid ground back to Call Me Maybe. They're not going to have DRS yet. It has not been activated, although I tell you what, it is now. They're not going to have it until next time by, but here's Texas Tornado, wants it down the inside, and I'm afraid he's going to get that one rather easily. Yes, he will. Call Me Maybe goes down to third, has a little peek down to the inside, but nothing there. He's definitely not close enough to make anything happen. Tennell getting into this, I tell you what, as the more battling happens ahead, it's only going to help him, and by the way, Fuse Rogue only 3 seconds behind as Fireball side by side with Jean Carlos on the way into Tamburello, as Fireball's had to kind of go off track. Jaw and Call Me Maybe side by side through Toza, and Jaw goes up the inside and gets the spot. Behind them, it looks like Tennell trying to get in this now. Next time by, we'll be halfway through this Grand Prix, and we've had everything. Tell you what, look at Tennell. He's right close up to Call Me Maybe here. Fuse Rogue's got an additional 3 seconds. I'm assuming he's picked that one up going through Piratella. Or Aqua Minerale, one of the two, as Fireball is going to get one himself. Texas Tornado's done well here. He's within 0.7 of a second. Don't let the cloudy skies deceive you. We're not on pace for any rain today, but the overcast is definitely going to happen, and here's Tennell. DRS to Call Me Maybe. He's going to go down the inside. Medium tires surely going to be faster than the hards. I tell you what, Call Me Maybe's got some pretty solid pace on him, has to be said. So they're going to be side by side in towards Tamburello, and Tenel is eventually going to get down the inside, but he's almost lost the car. In fact, he has, and Call Me Maybe's gotten it right back. Well, Tenel has gone deep into the braking zone. The back end of the car's come round. He's gone heavy over the inside curb, over the sausage curbs, and, well, what he's done there, he couldn't really get the car back up to speed, and Call Me Maybe has the spot. I'm not sure how that's happened. Tenel, quite the mistake there from him, but the good news is he's not hit anything or anyone. So, I guess you gotta pick your battles when you can. Meanwhile, as these two battle, that is now a 2-second deficit to the rest of the top three as they make their way out of Aqua Minerale, down in towards the Alta Chicane, as it looks like Gab and Fireball side by side. In fact, well, he's just past him coming out of the pits is what that is. But here we go. Here's Jaw, 0.2 of a second, and closing. Soy Loco has gotten around Giancarlo's on their way in towards Aqua Minerale, and now the cars fan out. Something has happened there as Tenel round the outside through Rivazza. Are you kidding me? He's done just that. Brilliant maneuver there, but now he's got one hell of a gap to make up to the rest of the top three. As here's Jaw, 0.3 of a second here, or hundredths rather. Texas Tornado round the outside. Is he going to get both of them into Tamburello? Yes, he will. Unbelievable move that. The confusion that's come upon me suddenly, I've really no idea how that change in position has happened. Jaw has gone to the inside. Manigos overtook Texas Tornado. Perhaps did Jaw get held up from his teammate, which allowed Texas to go round the outside and take the spot. Wow. Calm as you like then from Texas Tornado, not afraid to make it happen as Fireball has DNF and the safety car on track. That's on the outside of Rivazza. Is Arhadi going to get a good look at it? Well, he's gone straight off track is what he's done. But Texas Tornado, what a move from him, and he's got himself the lead of the Grand Prix. Well, he's gone off there. Had Fireball, and we've lost 5. We're down to 13. Texas Tornado's got the lead of the Grand Prix. Somehow. Well, in the pits comes Texas Tornado along with him. The pair of McLarens. We're going to get a papaya double stack here. As I tell you what, one of them's going to be caught out by surprise. Fuse Rogue. Well, look at that. He's taking the lead of the Grand Prix. How? Texas Tornado's going to get ahead of Tenel here. Los Manigos. Tenel is going to be gaining a position, so is Call Me Maybe. Jaw, with the McLaren double stack, has lost big time. He has lost an additional 2 spots over the ones he's going to lose anyways, and now another one as Jean Carlos gets around the McLaren as well as the Alfa Romeo of Alvarado. Well, Jaw has really been screwed over by that one. Of course, naturally, you can't blame Manigos for going in. He's the car ahead under the safety car. It would make sense that, you know, that happens. But when you have 2 cars on the same strategy like that, the 2 cars were, 1 and 2 there. They're now 3rd and 8th. Safety car on track will let it step aside and sort itself out. We've got some breaking news here. Fuse Rogue is locked out of his car. He's left the session. He's disconnected. The car leads the safety car queue. He's not in that car. That might be a problem. Has to be said. Could be wrong. That sounds like a problem. Good news is they're still on their way through Toza, so maybe they'll have enough time to get back. Oh, you know what I've just realized, though? Fuse Rogue doesn't get control of his car. That AI is going to pit. That AI pits. It doesn't... The AI is stupid. It doesn't know anything about itself. It assumes it's on the wrong tire compound here. As somebody is joining or leaving, as Dead Text Message leaves, but, the AI doesn't know anything about itself. It assumes it's on the wrong tire strategy. Although, 17-lap old hards, yeah, I could see why it thinks that. Maybe it would be time for a stop anyways, but, it wouldn't be ideal for Fuse Rogue. I'm assuming he would want to stay out and take the hards as long as he could. Instead, it does look as if he's going to be stopping here. And now we get the safety car in message. As this time by, we're going to have 12 laps to go. Fuse Rogue has joined. Has he got control of his car? I think he has. Yes! Is he going to be able to hold off Texas Tornado? The answer doesn't look like it will be, but at least he's in the car. That's worth something. Here goes Tennell, trying to find room around the outside of Mandigos here, in towards Tamburello. Ahead, Texas Tornado has taken the lead. To the inside, look, Tennell, he doesn't really have any room. Call Me Maybe nearly poked his head on the inside, but I'm afraid he ran out of room as well. And Alvarado round the outside of Jean Carlos, 3 wide into Villeneuve. Alvarado's got them both. Oh, but then he's gone off on the outside. Oy. Oh, he's taken the polystyrene advertising board with him as well. Well, that's unfortunate. Alvarado had a really good... Oh, look at this! Way! Freeman has gone right across the track. Somehow he's not hit anybody. We almost had about a 7-car pileup just then. As side-by-side for the 3rd spot is Tennell is able to get around Los Mandigos for the time being. Now has to find his way around. Texas Tornado has not had a good exit. Fuse Rogue, who's not had a good exit out of Aqua Minerale. Side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel, going through the Alta Chicane. Tennell around the outside. Mandigos falls out of position for the time being, and now Call Me Maybe around the outside. We're looking for a 3 wide into Ravazza. Are you kidding me? Side-by-side, into the corner. Mandigos and Call Me Maybe still. Look at this, Jaw in position. He's going to get that toe from his teammate. He better not hit either of them. Oh, what would it be if they hit each other here? He's going to have to look to the inside. Oh, he's running out of room. His teammate's not going to move for him, as he would. But still side-by-side into the corner. He gets way late on the brakes. Maybe contact with Call Me Maybe there. It was hard to tell. Texas Tornado, don't look now, over a 4-second lead. Back to Fuse Rogue. Mind you, here's a look at the penalties. Fuse Rogue on 6 seconds anyways. Here's Tennell trying to find the outside here, and I think he will. Yes, he will. The skies are getting quite gray. Contact being made there. Once again, doesn't look like we're on tap for any rain here. But either way, those clouds do look quite ominous, and I'm assuming if the race holds on, we might get rain towards the end. I've seen that sort of thing happen. Oh, what has happened with Fuse Rogue? Oh, he's well off the track. Well, that car had violently shot to the left, and I don't know if there was contact involved or he simply lost grip, but that car, I mean, that looked like Kevin Magnussen at Mexico a couple weekends ago, just how violently that car went across the circuit. Well, DRS is enabled here, as Alvarado has actually gotten around our Hottie for the time being. Oh, and there's contact again. Hottie's gone wide, wheels colliding there between the two of them. Hottie's going to rejoin the circuit in front of the AlphaTauri D block. Somehow contact hasn't been made there. Well, here's Mandigos. He's gotten a better exit than Tennell. Oh, what in the hell? What is happening between these two? Well, somehow Mandigos was able to hold on to the car. I tell you what, he was going to be well down the inside on his way into Villeneuve, and then contact was made. Mandigos shot across the gravel. Thankfully, he was able to hold on to the car, although it does say that the lag does look like it exists. That part's for sure. We have a car off towards the back. It is the Ferrari of Hottie, who has spun round. Jean Carlos, 3-second penalty for him. He's up to 6. Four-tenths of a second here between the two McLarens, who have faced their fair share of adversity today. Although it doesn't appear that way initially, they certainly have. Mandigos goes around the outside of Tennell, as even before Tamburello that move gets made. See if either of them get a better exit out of Tamburello and make a move happen in towards Villeneuve. Mandigos actually blocks that inside line quite nicely. Jaw in pursuit now, as here goes Tennell to the back of Mandigos. There's another yellow flag. Hottie's gone off again, this time for the second time in a couple of corners. He did it coming out of Volta. He's now done it coming out of Rivazza. Meanwhile, in all of that, Fuse Rogue has retired from the session. Unfortunately for him, that day was just not really going to get much better. And it was so full of chaos, I think he just needed the breather. And I don't think I blame him, but I'm assuming we may have some steward reports coming on later tonight. Remember the disclaimer once again, all reports, all positions are unofficial until steward reports come out later in the week. Our Hottie is retired, we're down to 11. As with what seems is almost too much time left in the Grand Prix here, Jaws within 0.2 of a second of Tennell. Let's see, does he find a way around? Look at Tennell, he's behind the McLaren of Mandy goes, oh, they're going to be 3 wide in the Tamburello, no way! Oh, I thought they were for a second. As it turns out, Tennell has actually been able to stay ahead of Mandigo somehow. Jaws just had to sit tight, I'm afraid, this time. As behind them, it looks like the retired Ferrari of Hottie has actually come back out on track for some reason. In the way of D-Block. Well, I tell you what a poor place to retire a car, that. Not his fault. Hottie retired in the pits, we just saw that, as we're migrating the host now again. As Texas Tornado picks up 3 seconds for multiple warnings, but as you can tell, Hottie had become the host of the session after Peter initially had lagged out the first time. And so that's put Texas Tornado at 6 seconds. Down to the inside now as Mandigos on Tennell. And look at Jaws going to go for it too. Tennell laid on the brakes, almost got into Mandigos there. Wheel to wheel, definitely some contact being had. Oh, look how close this is here. Can't get any closer than this at Imola, really. Jaw down the inside. He has gotten the spot, hasn't he? Yeah, he's done well. Tennell, I think, is still in a good enough position to find a way back. Looks like Freeman and Giancarlo swapping positions there. Very nice. Alvarado's picked up 5 seconds for speeding of the pit lane. Texas Tornado, again, he's picked up an additional 3 seconds for the lag happening after Hottie disconnected. You know, accidentally cutting some of Aqua Minerale going off track, so I think he would have a fair opportunity to report that and maybe get that 3 seconds taken off, because at the moment he'd lose the spot to Mandigos. Two McLarens here within right close of each other. That kind of sounds the alarms to me. You know, you wouldn't want to see your two teammates come together here, especially after the day they've had. But as they continue to battle, or I say battle, battle's kind of a strong word, as they kind of stay in position, that's going to allow Tennell to get back up to it here. Let's see if the McLarens invert positions. Jaw's going to go around the outside before Tamburello. And yes, the positions are inverted here. Mandigos is now going to have to fend off from Tennell behind. This next time by, we're going to have 5 laps to go. So I think, I'll be honest here, I think even doing the results screen is going to be a moot point, just because of how many penalties there are, and how many steward reports I think are going to be coming the rest of the week. Mandigos in pursuit of his teammate once again. I tell you what, the McLaren's inverted position, although they don't necessarily seem to be too off pace from each other. I would assume maybe if Mandigos has a good enough a run out of Rivazza, the positions could swap again. Behind them, Tennell doing his best to hold on here, although look how little battery he has left. Mandigos is 25. Jaw is saved up enough to get up to 33. I'm afraid Tennell is really juicing the battery here, trying to, you know, so much as keep up to this battle, as the two McLarens ahead of him can use it rather defensively. Whereas Tennell kind of, I don't want to say has to panic, but he's going to be using that button as much as he can. in towards Toza now. Texas Tornado still leads, this time only by about 4.2 seconds. Once again, I'll repeat this. None of the results are final until when Steward reports are posted later. And, well, I'll be right honest with you. It feels like there's going to be a few of them this week. It looks like the gap between the McLarens have kind of gotten outwards here. Second and a half nearly, as Tunnell seems to slightly be on the attack here of Mandagos. He's not on necessarily better tires, but Mandagos now outside of DRS range on his teammate here. And these two have come together plenty of times already in this race. I wouldn't be surprised if they find themselves in some argy-bargy once more. Only a couple of laps to go here. We'll have 3 next time by. So now within 0.3 of a second, it looks like Freeman getting around D-Block with the aid of DRS. Very nicely done. D-Block slightly doing okay. I mean, he's still got some penalties, but, well, he doesn't have any penalties, but either way, I tell you what seems to be clean race from him. May earn some points, some good points. Making their way out of the Alta chicane. 0.5 of a second, not necessarily closing. Again, Tunnell is not really saving his battery, I think, as much as he could. Mandagos, I think, is starting to use it just as much, as it looks like the sun is going to start to shine perhaps once more here in Imola. It did look quite cloudy not long ago. It looks as if now it's going to definitely stay dry. I know it was supposed to anyways, but you never know. 3 laps to go. DRS activated. Now, here's what I'm worried about here. Texas Tornado at the moment, oh, and there it is. So this is my thinking, right? Texas Tornado rightfully has 3 seconds of track limits penalty. That part we know is true. He's picked up an additional 3 for going off at Aqua Minerale when the host disconnected. Should he be able to get those additional 3 seconds erased, then he would only need to be ahead of Jaw by 3 seconds. At the moment, he's still only 2.7 ahead. So it looks like Jaw may end up winning this Grand Prix after all. I think it kind of looked like he was going to with the penalties to begin with. But Texas Tornado, for the most part, has been unable to keep that gap above 3 seconds between himself and Jaw. So it does look as if Jaw's going to be your winner today, unless something happens. DRS activated here, 0.6 of a second. And closing here. I tell you what, Tunnell's making up some good ground. Not really close enough to make anything happen. We've got 2 laps to go. Tell you what, that was quite the wiggle there from Mandagos. Tunnell might be in position. Trying to get there at least. He's not there yet, but I tell you what, that was a noticeable loss of traction that time, coming out of Toza. Through Aqua Minerale for the penultimate time. Tunnell, I think, is going to have one more good opportunity to overtake Mandagos here. He's definitely got just as much, if not more, battery as the McLaren ahead. Oh, but I tell you what, he's made a hash of Alta that time, hasn't he? He's gone through it quite quickly, but the McLaren ahead of him was not as quick. He's had to back off and then trying to get back on throttle. It's not done well. Oh, I tell you what, it's going to be a close one here. Final lap. DRS activated. Battery being used. Battery not actually being used for Mandagos here. Tunnell is going to have it around the outside. Manigos tries to defend. It's going to be side by side into the chicane. No, Tennell's going to get around handedly there, has to be said, and Tennell promotes himself back onto the podium. And Manigos did all he could to hold the Aston Martin at bay while he could. Well, a bit of disconnect there, I'm not quite sure. Once again, we have no idea what the final results are actually going to be. What we do know is, on paper, Jaw's going to be the winner of this Grand Prix. Tennell is going to have maybe second, maybe he takes third, depending on if Texas Tornado is able to get 3 of his 6 seconds of penalty removed. Not sure. What we do know is that Jaw, I think everybody has gotten into some sort of trouble here today, but Jaw has done his best to stay out of it for the most part. If he was in any trouble, I don't remember it to the point to which it would raise any alarms, but Jaw and Texas Tornado coming out of the final corner now. Jaw will win the Imola Grand Prix here as Texas Tornado sheds a front wing in celebration for finishing seconds, perhaps third. Well, he is going to get fourth. Tennell's going to take second. Manny goes third. Texas Tornado fourth. Call me maybe fifth. Soy Loco will take sixth. Freeman seventh. D-Block at the moment looks as if he's outside of that 3-second window. Giancarlo's up to 9 seconds of penalties. So Freeman's going to take P7. 8th is going to be D-Block. Alvarado, I believe, is going to... Well, I don't think he's going to have P9. I think he's just about 0.5 of a second clear. Let's see when he gets to the line. No, John Carlos gets him. 6/1000ths of a second. And Gab's going to take P11. Well, hot spot. Pleasure is definitely a word to describe it. Next week we head to Las Vegas for the 3rd round of the 11th Midwest F1 season. We'll see you next time.